we are about to hit go time, everyone. Just give us another minute or so. Oh, that just turned 12 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So welcome everybody to today's session on conducting powerful client meetings, part of the 2025 CAR series. Excited to have you joining us today. We got a jam-packed session for you. We've got several guests that are going to be joining the session and sharing their experiences out in the field, utilizing the CAR process to bring success to them within their agency and as business owners. So we're super excited to have you with us today. So as we get started, I want to start with introducing myself. My name is Tim Marriott. I'm a senior agency training instructor here in the home office. Been with the company for, it must be getting old because it's 27 years. So I've been around a long time, 17 years in the field, 9 years in the home office. And then also helping me out on producing today's session, running the behind the scenes is Kim Aker, also an agency training instructor. We're both here to help and support you. And really, we're here to just kind of guide you through a conversation with our guest speakers today. Great value to you as business owners to help you see the value behind the CAR process, even if you're all in or not all in, get you to understand the value to bring to you as a business owner. A couple things real quick, just wanted to share with you housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded, and your microphones and cameras have been either muted and or turned off. And we are going to be using the Q&A chat box to keep track of things as we roll through today's session. And you feel free to participate by dropping questions in the chat box. That would be great. And then we will be stopping periodically throughout today's session to take a look at if there's any questions in there. Make sure that they get answered to the best of our ability. We're going to try to get through everything in today's session. But real quick, as a recap for all of you, as you all know, there are 4 steps to the client annual review process. First and foremost is getting that review scheduled. We're going to spend some time after Renee has talked with Derek and Corey, walking through that, telling you about the process and how to make sure you get those logged properly. Next up is the preparation. That's when you're shining and getting everything ready for your clients. Allow them with all the expertise and knowledge and products that you can to help them tell their careers even greater success. Next up, it's the actual review where you're sitting down and having that meeting, sharing your thoughts, your ideas, coverage recommendations, pivoting into cross-sell opportunities, and then following up after the meeting to make sure you're documenting everything discussed, product recommendations you have offered, coverage changes. And again, you want to make sure you're getting all of that recorded for your benefit as well as the clients. Make sure that you're protecting yourself and protecting your clients. So I mentioned we do have several guests with us today. So let's start introducing them to you. We have Renee Holly, who's the district leader in Market 5, as well as 2 reps within her district, Derek Baha and Corey Stell. And they're all going to be involved in today's discussion. So we're happy to have them all with us. I want to tell you a little bit more about each one of them. Renee has been with Country for 21 years, 20 years as a rep, then the last year as a district leader in Market 5. Renee has 9 All-Americans as an MDRT member and holds her FSS designation. Derek has been with Country for 15 years. The first 9 years of his career, he was a production assistant. About 6 years ago, he decided to become a rep, running his own agency, and in that time since 2019 to 2024, he has qualified for All-American and All-Star every year. So congratulations, Derek. And he works out of a small town called Swinton, Illinois. I don't know where that is, and I'm sure if you ask him sometime, he'll share that with you. And then we have Corey Stelling with us as well. Corey has 21 years in the insurance business. He's a 7-time All-American. Congratulations, Corey. And MDRT member, and also holds his LUTCF designation, and he works out of Swansea, Illinois. So again, all welcome. We're happy to have you with us and to share your knowledge and your experience with our audience today as we go through the discussions on the car, how it works. So we're going to kick things off with me, starting with Renee. I just want to ask her a couple questions real quick. After those questions, we're going to check the Q&A box to see if we have any questions. And then once we get done with that, we will pivot into Renee having that conversation with Derek and Corey. So as we get started, let's go ahead and welcome all of our guests. Give them a round of applause, a heart emoji, something to say thank you for taking time out of their day to help us and to be present in our session and share their knowledge and experience. And again, we're all here to help each other, right? To help and grow and share and learn from each other. So we're very grateful that they have decided to make time for us here today. So Renee, I'm going to start with you. First question for you. All right. Okay. Ready? For you are. Okay. So first question for you is, what differences do you see between reps in your district who have a strong car process or system in place versus other reps that maybe don't have such an organized or defined structure in running their agencies?
Yeah, I think for those that do have a very good process, and if their whole team is involved in the office itself, whether that be a staff person or they're delegating to their assistants, also their associate reps are running some of those. Maybe the clients that are just monoline clients there. I think their process and then their sheets, they're using the four forms that we use up there, and then getting also the referrals at the end. So I think it's just kind of a team approach that I see versus the ones that are maybe trying to do it on their own, trying to do their own scheduling, and maybe don't have that process down and just kind of going through that each day.
Okay, and I appreciate the fact you brought up the car packing. We're going to talk about this more a little bit later in today's session, but I think it's vital that they have a process in place. And it's nice to see that you can recognize that from your perspective as the district leader. So thank you for sharing that. Then another question for you, when you're having those car conversations with your reps, how can you tell from your perspective that there's a rep that's had successful car appointments? Based upon, do you see it from a production side, or do you see it more than just in production?
I think for me, I see it more from the side of, did they build a relationship with the client? Did the client understand? Are we educating them? Are we talking about the right liability limits? Are we putting umbrellas in place? And then ultimately the production is going to come from us doing our processes correctly. But to me, it's more about the relationship built. And then you can also tell from the excitement from the rep. It's like, hey, I learned this about them, or maybe we learned about business that they have that we weren't aware of. So really the relationship side is probably my biggest takeaway from the appointment.
Okay, so are you, with those reps, are you seeing, I would assume, more production, maybe more cross-sell opportunities? What are you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, I'll just pick on Derek and Corey here. I mean, they both have great processes when it comes to the car. And what we see from a cross-sell, whether it be life or financials, I would say they're two at the top of our district for that. And then also just their staffing side of it, it's very helpful too. It's leading to more follow-ups and using leads and activities to get that all going.
Okay, well, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure if you have your conversation with them, we'll learn more about their agencies, their staffing, their processes, how all that plays together within your district and your perspective as their district leader. So I appreciate all of that, for sharing that information. So at this point, I don't think there's any questions. I don't see any questions in the Q&A yet, which is fine, but we like to stop periodically throughout the session to double check, make sure we're addressing any questions that do pop in. So then Renee, at this point, what I'd like to do is just hand it over to you and let you start your conversations with Derek and Corey and walk you through their processes and how the car is going to benefit to them, building their businesses, growing their business. So take it away.
All right. Well, Derek, we'll start with you since alphabetically you're first, right? You always get picked on for that. So Derek, will you describe your office structure for us?
Sure. Yeah. So I've got 3 full-time staff members. I have Nancy, who's kind of my first contact. She's our front line. She handles a lot of the billing and just small policy changes and things of that nature. Kendra, who does a lot of my, quoting and a lot of my marketing, a lot of my contacts, she's heavily involved in our car process. And then I also have, associate agent, Ahmad, who's, he's the newest staff member. He's been with us for about 3 months, but he's, hitting the ground running, just trying to be a branch of, our agency to kind of be an addition of me, so to speak. So right now, those three, plus myself, are running the show.
Or you wanna tell us about your staff?
Yeah, so similar, I've got Abby, but she's the front person, she answers all the phone calls first. She'll do all the billing changes, she'll actually schedule some cars, she looks on my calendar. And then Linda is my associate agent, I have her, been here about 2 years, so she's down running all the quotes. She gets backed up, then the quotes go to Abby to help out, and then I take a look at it before I contact the client, but then I'm having Linda do mostly the PNC. I do all the commercial life and financials and everything, but I'm even having her now, she's more comfortable, so she's even running the appointments, right, policies. So, and she's handling the backside of things too, as far as even brokerage products, I know her doing some of that. Just kind of helping with the, some of the, all the tasks that we have over there. Thanks.
All right, Corey, I'm gonna pick on you for this first question. Can you describe your own car process from scheduling and preparing to conducting the follow-ups with those?
Yeah, so I guess with the scheduling, I use the marketing call center, so they'll make calls each month, for me. Some months I remember to select the open box, select the people I want, other months I don't, but I mean, if you don't do that now, they will make the appointments for you, so I mean, if you're worried about appointments, I would start there, because they will get them scheduled. They have good luck contacting clients and, getting them meet with you, and then as far as the other one, I mean, pretty much Abby will do that, because each day we get the daily email updates on policies. And that's her job to kind of go through there, and I mean, with the home conversion, rate increases, everything. I mean, pretty much we try to touch all of them, right? To talk to the client and run the policy. So that's, I mean, we've had a lot of cards on that. I mean, you can find changes on pretty much every one daily. So she'll schedule a lot of those. The other people that I talk to on a daily basis, that, that's just work. I'll put it on the calendar wherever I, have a slot, and then Linda will put stuff on there too. But I mean, it's just kind of a mix, but I would say most of the appointments don't come out of Mark also.
And Derek, I'll let you follow up this. So when it comes to your car process, how involved are your team members with that, from logging and holding appointments?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, similar to Corey, I do utilize the marketing call center. I do try to edit those lists every month as well, to people that I know I would like to get in touch with or have review with. But, generally, I kind of also mimic Corey in that the daily runs that we get, using the home conversion as a great touch point. Those lists I print out, and then I have Kendra, me and her go through it. And I kind of highlight the ones that I want her to contact. It could be phone call, could be email, could be rep text. It just, she's kind of got a good idea. She utilizes all three, but a best way of contacting our clients. Now she's been with me for a couple of years now, so she's very heavily involved. Actually, probably one of the main contacts as far as reaching out to our clients as far as scheduling goes. And she'll put them on my outlet. Going on now, I will say a very large percentage are done virtually or over the phone, which is fine. I can accommodate that and still get what we need done through those reviews. But and Renee, I've joked about this. If I had to log a car report to save my job, I don't know that I could do it. So I have no idea how to log a car report. I'm okay saying that in front of 245 people. So Kendra does do that too. We have a sheet that we use that I run through during my cars, and then I give it to her and she takes it from there. So, but yeah, from start to finish, she is very heavily involved. I just kind of run the meeting and document what we did, what changes we did, and go from there.
And that's the same with me too. I don't ever, not ever charge or log a car, so my number would show 0 if Abby didn't do it.
Thank goodness for grid assistance, right? So, speaking of them, and maybe we should have asked them this question, what hurdles do you think they experience whenever trying to schedule a car? What do you think you guys run up against that becomes a problem?
You know, I think the biggest thing is just time, right? I think everybody's busy. We're busier. Our clients are busier. I think that to me is probably the biggest hurdle, other than people just not really knowing what I'm trying to review with them. And, you know, if I just spoke to them maybe 6 months ago, we're just kind of reiterating there might be some changes, there's some new discounts or things of that nature that we're just trying to see if we could help them out with. But I think time is ultimately the biggest hurdle that I have in our agency, and that's why a lot of mine, I'd say 80% of my cars are done virtually or over the phone. At least if I can have the meeting and just, you know, discuss what changes are coming or what's available, I'm okay with that. I'd rather be in person, but I'm okay with, you know, being a different method.
All right, Corey, this one's for you. This is the one everyone wants to know. What do you give with the answer for how you handle rate increases?
I guess I truly do sympathize with them, right? I let them know that my policies are the same rate increase as they do, you know, I don't get any special treatment. I do talk to them too about, just if you rewind several years ago, that, you know, you're gonna have roofs that are, you know, exponentially lower than what they, you know, now, what they were in the past. That you can't keep charging the same amount of insurance, you know, now. And I mean, in our area, you know, we used to be able to build a house for, you know, call it less than $100 a square foot or right around it. Now it's, you know, over $200 a square foot. So I kind of tell them all the facts, you know, even auto claims, you know, I'll say, hey, you know, we used to not pay for small vendor vendors, right? It used to be $500,000. I said, now we pay for every vendor because it's no more $500,000, it's $3,000 to $5,000. And I said, cars were getting pulled out. And I said, no, you know, client, I just give them scenarios, right? I had a client bring the dealership the same day, deer, and it's $45,000 car was rolled out just because of deer that probably was rolled out before. You know, so and I think they kind of realize that. And, you know, Eric and I talk every day, pretty much ask each other questions. But as long as you talk to the client and kind of give them, you know, sympathize with them, give them answers, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to get the premium down at all, right? It's not like I have a magical wand and I, you know, look at something, will bring your premium down. And I think most of the time, if you talk to them and just let them know that you're looking out for them, if you can find something else out, they're okay with that. You know, they understand that, you know, I talk about this, it's not just us, it's State Farm, it's Allstate, it's everybody, you know, and I make sure that they know too, hey, if you're going to shop, that's fine. Give me your deck pages so that way I can compare, because I guarantee you they're going to tell you it's the same, but it's not. And I hear that all the time, it's the same, it's not. And when they sell it to me, then I, you know, pick through it and tell them, hey, no, you know, USA's got 2% wind hail. State Farm's got a 1% wind hail. If you want us to match that, we can get a lot closer. So that's helped out quite a bit with the whole rate increase, you know, conversation.
Good stuff. Thank you, Corey. So with both of you having car processes, do you feel like you have better opportunities for cross-sell? And then what are some questions that you are asking to cross-sell the life?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, having more car meetings in general will lead to more opportunities for cross-selling just by the sheer numbers. I think the more people you see, the more people you talk to, as long as you're asking questions. Again, there's no magic question. There's nothing that Corey or I are saying anything different to possibly cross-sell. I think it's just kind of asking any question in regards to, you know, what have you revisited your life insurance plan? What do you have in the form of any life insurance? You know, the more times you're meeting or talking to people, it just gives you better opportunities to have those discussions and find needs for some of your clients or prospects. I do think it's helped. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few apps this year that I've written that I would say came out of left field. I just asked a question, and they're like, you know, and timing has a lot to do with this, of course. I never know what, you know, if it's good timing or bad timing, but I should ask the same questions anyway. And and it's led to filling out some applications and going from there. So I think, yeah, of course, I think if you're having the right discussions with the people day in and day out, you know, good things will tend to happen. Not everybody says yes, definitely gives you a better odds.
Thanks, Aaron. That's the more plans you want, and you just have to make sure that, like so there's no magical question. Just bring it up, conversation, just naturally, and it'll happen. I mean, it's not guaranteed to happen every time, but people will write more life insurance just by having more plans.
All right, so if you guys were brand new today, what would you tell yourself?
I guess I'd go back to what we discussed yesterday and just kind of shut up and listen. I always try to, at least early on in my career, I always felt like I had to interject or say things or answer questions that my clients and prospects were you know, leading on or thinking they were needing an answer for. But I think the more you listen, the more you just take notes. A lot of times they're gonna tell you what they want or what they need or what they're looking for, whether it's answers, whether it's policies or coverage types. But I think if I could tell myself, my younger self, just to, you know, be quiet, take notes, listen, and then when they're, you know, then you find the right time to give your advice. But and I think having a system, like, you know, Corey has his system, I have my system. It's similar. It's not the same, but it's similar. And I think, you know, developing that for each of us, I think, is going to be unique, but it's going to have a lot of similarity. But just having it, sticking with it, you can change it. You can alter it as things change in our industry with country. You've got to make certain changes with things, but whatever your process is, whatever your system is, whether it's running a car report or whatever it is, or car meeting, just sticking with it. And I think that good things will tend to come with it.
Yeah, and I would say my big thing would be build a relationship, you know, as much as you can with every client, right? I mean, doesn't mean that you gotta go hang out on weekends or anything like that, but, you know, try to remember their, you know, family members, things that happen in their life, because it is impactful when you bring it up, you know, a year later, whatever they do say, wow, remember that? You know, so I think that does help, especially with retaining business. And then, like Derek said, have a system in place, you know, figure out, know the entire business, and then figure out what you're good at, and then when you get to the point that you have an assistant or you can have an associate agent, get that person on board, and then delegate those tasks and get them off your plate, so that way you can focus on other things.
Great answers. I appreciate you guys helping us out today on that. Tim, I'll turn it back over to you.
We do have a couple of questions in the chat box, so Renee, thank you for that. Appreciate that. This one I'll throw out to both Derek and to Corey. It's about, you know, for a newer assistant. I know, Derek, you mentioned Kendra, and Corey, you mentioned Linda. So if you were going to bring somebody else into your office, you know, you get so big that you need a second person helping out with that. You know, what would be your recommendations for getting somebody up to speed and being able to get confident in scheduling those client reviews? Derek,
Yeah.
let's start first.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as just getting them comfortable is probably the first step, right? Whether they're, you know, I did have kind of a script with Kendra that I went over in regards to home conversion, scheduling of the car. You know, I don't have her get in depth at all, other than, you know, it's very basic. You know, there's a new home system that we have that we're introducing, that your policy is renewing into, that there are some new discounts available, some new coverages available. And Derek would just like to take a few minutes to go through that with you. Would you have any time, you know, to meet or talk to him? I'm not asking her to make a sale over the phone. It's just really just to set that appointment. So I don't want her to get too in depth what the discounts are. I don't even think she knows what all the discounts are, but just trying to get that scheduled. So I mean, there's a little bit of intrigue there. People hear new discounts, or there's enough there that people are like, yeah, I'll take 15 minutes to talk to Derek. But I guess making sure they're comfortable making the phone calls, I guess, at first, which Kendra's never had that as an issue, even from day one, but just kind of, I would say, developing a script for whatever such purpose you're trying to set that review or that car for, if it's for home or auto or life or whatever. I would keep it very basic and don't make it sound like it's going to take 2 hours to do, because everybody's time is worth something. Everybody measures everything they do in life against how much time they have to put out for something. So, 20, 30 minutes, you can kind of get these wrapped up, and it might require another follow-up, which is fine, but I guess that would be my biggest piece of advice, making them comfortable, giving them some sort of scripts to go off, at least to start, and then they'll get comfortable enough where they can do it on their own.
Okay. Lori, anything for you from Linda? I know you said she handled all of the recording for you.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same thing as Derek, just got her comfortable, right? It'll take time, but then you can tell, I don't break the fire right away, just give them small steps that, just keep building on that. So once they get to a certain point, then that's whenever I have the, call and schedule. And you'll be able to tell them too. I mean, first is having a conversation with the clients when they call in, and then, then next you could use those, daily update emails if you want to. That's a perfect way to, start calling clients and asking them to schedule appointments.
Okay. So I know with the current process, the emphasis has been, and Derek, you kind of just mentioned this now, not necessarily trying to do everything in one appointment, but spreading those appointments out a little bit. And it's okay to say, okay, we're going to take today to just review. Then we're going to, if there's follow-ups, we'll do the follow-up. So for both of you, what's the average length of time that you're spending on your appointments, your initial appointment in the car review? Are you staying close to the 30-minute window?
I know we talked about this yesterday, so I'll be honest. I think Corey kind of agrees with that. I don't hold myself to that 30-minute window. I know my schedule, when they schedule the cars, I think they give an hour on my schedule. And some don't, some take 15, 20 minutes, some take an hour. I'm always there to try to answer questions. I do try to move. It is at a little bit of higher level than it was in the past, but with the home conversion one, I know there is a little bit more detail that I am going through with the clients on their home, obviously. And so if it does run 45 minutes or an hour, I'm okay with that. I'm not just shutting it down and telling them we got to pick it up next week or anything like that. But it has opened some doors to some umbrella conversations, to life insurance conversations. And to be honest, if my schedule allows and their schedule allows, if they want to get into that a little further, I will. It doesn't always happen. After an hour, 15 minutes talking about insurance, like both of us are just a little tired at that point, so we want to move on to the next thing we got going on. But if they want to fill out an umbrella app, I'll do it as long as I don't have another appointment waiting. But I don't wait. I don't just hold it to a half hour. But I have had a lot of them that have, especially the phone ones, that 20 minutes or so is fairly common.
Okay, good. Thank you. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, basically the same. I don't have a hold to half an hour. I'd say most of my appointments are, an hour or possibly longer. So it just depends on the client. I will have some under 15 minutes, right? Just an auto home or nothing to do, but I am going to make sure to touch on everything we offer. I will let them know about life insurance every appointment. I will let them know about financials every appointment. So like anytime on the phone with the client, they're going to know about it, because so many people don't realize we do it. So it's just easy.
Okay, good. Thank you. Derek, I have a question for you. Amber dropped a question in the chat box here about sharing the sheet that you mentioned. Do you remember what that specifically was?
Oh, my car sheet?
Yeah, and that's out on the, and I'll talk about that. That's fine. I'm just trying to make sure we didn't miss it. I'll talk about the car packet here in a little bit, so that's fine. I just want to make sure we got that. We have another question, and either one of you or both of you can address this. It comes from Buddy. Does the marketing call center call and set appointments at renewal or earlier than renewal? How do you kind of build that out? I know when I was a rep, it was every month and they were kind of scheduled out. Do you guys have a set system that you use when you're setting up your cars, or who they're calling? How does that work for each of you? Derek, you want to go first?
Yeah, so in the marketing call center, basically what I'm using that for is, I try to edit those lists every month. I know Corey and I were discussing that yesterday, the months you might forget, you might end up with like 20 appointments in 1 week, which is fine. It's just that's a little overwhelming sometimes. So I do comb through those, and kind of pick which people I may have mentioned something to, 6 months ago, whether it's about life insurance or an umbrella or any policy changes. I don't know that I'm necessarily using the marketing call center for upcoming renewals as much as I'm using my team for that. Like Corey used those overnight runs that give you that 35-day window or wherever it is. So the marketing call center, at least for my agency, I'm using for more of a follow-up, I guess, for a product or a recommendation that I may have made, 6 months to a year ago that I just would like to, check back on.
Okay, good, thank you. Corey, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's, just once you get into leads and activities, you can pick it each month, and then, I try to update it, go through the list, but, like the past couple months, that's the cutoff date, and, so I try to pick up people that I know, right, that I talk to on a regular basis, because you don't want to call on your personal client and talk to them once a week, because it doesn't look good, right, so that's the benefit of editing that list, but it doesn't go off of renewal dates I know of, and I just try to use that list for people that I might not have talked to recently, or like Derek said, that, I've talked in the past, and I just need to follow up.
Okay. What does an average look like for both of you as far as scheduling appointments? How many do you have on your calendar? Do you have special days that you use, maybe focus more on appointments on certain days and service work and other stuff on other days of the week?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say it just depends. I mean, usually my calendar is pretty packed. I mean, there could be, I could have five reviews a day, which I think is a lot. But, I'd say most days I have 1 to 2 reviews, and then, I'm on the phone constantly with clients, so I've always got something to talk about. I got a whole notepad in front of me of people that I've talked with, even like life insurance. I got it listed out, people I can contact, go over stuff, and just kind of, that list right in front of me. But yeah, basically it just depends on how many the market call center puts on there and my assistants.
Okay, good, thank you for that. Second question, pop into the chat box, I'm trying to read through it, and I guess talking about doing reviews and with the premium increases, and I know you guys talked about this earlier. I mean, I know there's no magic word or anything that you can say when you gotta have that conversation. So what's the best approach that you have when it comes to having those tough conversations with your clients? Derek, you wanna go first?
Yeah, you talk about like as far as rate changes, premium
Yeah,
increases.
rate changes, this one here specifically, is talking about, especially a lot of times on home, if they have a mortgagee, and they have it in an escrow account, the client doesn't really see it, like they would if they were paying the bill themselves. But sometimes those do pop up, and you get a client that isn't necessarily mad, but they're definitely not happy with the rate increase.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's nothing like starting your day at, looking at an email at 7 o'clock in the morning and seeing 10 of your clients having 50% rate increases, and you're like, okay, well, how am I gonna tackle this? But, I address it, and that's part of the reason why I want to meet with them. You can run and hide from it, or you can just kind of say, here's where we're at, and here's some ideas on possibly getting it lowered. We have to look at deductibles. I think one thing that the country is at least allowing allowing our clients to do is keep those $1,000 deductibles. Now, I've had discussions with a lot of my clients about that, because I feel like that is probably something that is something that looked at. I've changed mine. I went to a higher deductible. I think 1,000 was always the standard, right? But there's some companies out there that won't let you keep that. It's going to be a percentage, or it's going to be a higher flat rate. So these are just things that I'm educating clients on. They don't have to make the change, but it's just something that we're allowing them to keep or adjust. And here's what it'll do to premium and across the board, But it's not us. Again, or I should say, it's not just us. It's everybody. And the thing that we've had in our area, like Corey mentioned earlier, we've had our fair share of severe weather events here over the last 2.5 years, where a lot of our our clients were impacted and they got taken care of, they got new roofs, they got, whatever, hail, their cars or anything. So they know, at least most of them, they know that why some of it is changing. They may not like it. I don't like it either, but it is what it is. But I think just being realistic and bringing up other economic factors that are put into this, like the cost of anything these days is going up, and a lot of people don't realize it until it hits them in their pocketbook, whether it's their insurance or taxes or whatever. But I think just being upfront and honest about it is probably the best way to go about it. At least that's my thought on it.
Okay, well, I like the fact that you mentioned, yes, you get those emails in and you're about 35 days out. So at least it gives you time to, all right, like to talk to the client more than necessarily get the bill in the mail and set some expectations on what it's gonna look like going forward. So that's great. All right, Corey, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, kind of similar, but like, I think it's nice to the client because once that renewal hits, actually the client will get it before, pretty much the same time we can either see it. And then once that renewal's out, it's gonna go to the bank's gonna pay it. And I do want the client to know that from the beginning, I'm like, look, the bank's gonna get this bill, they're gonna pay it. Let's look through your policy, if there's anything we can do. And if there is, from, like Derek said, I always mention, you wanna keep your $1,000 on what's fine, but most companies are switching that's the way of the future essentially. So I would know that, hey, look, we go to 1%, or we go to 2,000, or, the 1%'s too high, give them different options. I still try to always keep the replacement cost on the roof if possible. I know some agents, you can, do whatever you want there, but I let them know what we have, in some companies, lower personal property, we don't necessarily. So I kind of run through like a checklist of items with them, and then I just say, hey, now we're gonna make changes. This does save you money. Whatever you get from a refund, put that back into your escrow account, so that way it gets it close to what it was the year prior. So I let them know any refunds they get, but they need to put that back directly to their escrow account.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so a lot of great information. Let's give Derek and Corey a round of applause. A lot of great items shared there on how they run their businesses, how they look at it truly as a business owner. I know a country that's kind of been a focus lately is to think not only as a rep who's selling, but to truly look at it from a business owner mentality, how you can grow and protect your book's business and bring value to your clients. So I appreciate that. So one more question, Renee, I'm going to pivot this one back to you before we continue on and finish up today's session. So as the district leader, is there anything in particular you share or you want to make sure you talk to when you have a new hire or a rep that's maybe not been around very long to kind of help them get onto the path to success? What some recommendations you have or some processes you have used in your role as a district leader?
I think the biggest thing especially for new reps, is that we get a process and we start early, that we train our clients to go that way. And the other thing that I talk to my new reps about is, make sure that you're talking to the veteran reps, because one of the best things I ever did whenever I started was I talked to a ton of reps. And so different people are going to have different ideas, and then you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everybody's already done all this. Maybe you just take a little piece from each rep that you listed with and then make it your own. It's never too late to change your process. I think I was a rep for 20 years. And I drove my office staff insane because I would come home from a meeting. I'm like, we're going to do it this way now, because I liked it. So I guess be adaptable. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. And, if you could start out that career with this is the process, if it's documented, create that binder for your team. It'll be very helpful.
All right. Thank you. Again, all three of you, we appreciate everything you shared. We got a couple of slides we're going to walk through here. Then I'm going to circle back one more time to check the Q&A box to see if we have any final questions. So with that, let's keep moving forward. So before we talk about this, and I just wanted to share with you, for all of you to remember that the card packet is available and out on the SharePoint for you to take a look at and to utilize. And if you're not utilizing it and you don't have a really set definitive process in place, I would highly recommend you take advantage of this. Go out to the SharePoint in the Sales Growth Toolbox, find it out there, take a look at it. They've added in the meeting agenda recently, so that's now there too to help you, along with the other resources a household update sheet, a product and services spectrum sheet, client intake sheet, as well as the emergency contact form. These are things that don't necessarily always have to be done directly as they're sitting across from you at the table. These are things your staff may be able to help with, things that could be emailed out to a client prior to a meeting. But having a system and a process and tools available for you to utilize to be more effective in your meetings with your clients is a huge boost to you and your rep and into your career. So we recommend you take a look at that and put something in place if you don't have something in place already to help build your successes. Also out there on the Sales Growth Toolbox, there are a couple of car demo videos, one with Troy Korsgarden and the other one with District Leader Joe Newpel. These are both 30-minute review demos. They've taken the time within those to kind of do a step out or a shout out and explaining the valuable aspects of the review, how to address objections that you may get, and how to pivot from the review into, like Derek and Corey both talked about. Yes, the review is the review, but there is opportunities to set expectations, to bring up other products, services that you can offer to them. After you've gathered all their information in the car packet, you may know they don't have enough life insurance. You know, they haven't really started planning for the future. You know, those are things that you can address in the car. Ask questions, stir them into action maybe a little bit, and get them to set that next appointment and keep moving forward and open up those cross-sell opportunities. So great resources there. And also out on the Sales Growth Toolbox, you have some additional tools there that help make it easier for you to find the resources and training. So if you want to do a refresher or you have new staff and you want them to have a little better understanding of what the CARM process looks like, there are these tools and resources out here for them to find within the Sales Growth Toolbox. And I believe, Chuck. Yep, I was just going to say, Kim's going to drop that in the box, but it's already been dropped. So Kim, thank you for dropping that in there. All right, next up, we have two slides. We're going to kind of go through both these. The first one is about logging that accepted review. And then the next one is on logging the completed appointment. So there are steps and processes to each of these. Kim's going to drop them into our chat box for us. That the company really thinks it's important for you as a rep to keep track of these things and to get them logged, whether you're doing it yourself or like Corey and Derek talked about, maybe you sign this out to staff, which is great. As long as they're getting recorded, we're keeping track of what we're doing and what you're active in. This helps Renee when she sits down with you to run her review appointments with you and to have her meetings. And then also it allows you to protect yourself, right, from potential E&O claims. If you contacted the client, you offered them the client and or review. If they said no, and then 6 months later they get in an accident and they're complaining about a lack of coverage, you know, you have documentation to protect yourself and support yourself as a rep. It's important that you're logging those reviews, as well as making sure you get the completed ones logged as well. So the processes are available to you. Let's put those into the chat box for us. So make sure you're documenting everything you're talking about, taking the time after the appointment, whether again it's you or a staff member, that recommendations you make, coverage changes that you offer that the client maybe says, you know what, let me think about that. Or they said, no, I'm okay, they know where my coverages are now. If you discuss and offer them cost opportunities into life and financials, make sure you're documenting that after the completed review. Again, it's protection for you. It's make sure you have a paper trail. It's also making sure that you're asking the questions that you know you need to be asking for the benefit of the client to make sure that they're properly protected. All right. Next up, we are going to talk about second slide that and slide it back up about PEAK. Now, I'm sure there's probably some of you on the call that are familiar with PEAK or maybe have already participated in PEAK. If you have not, this is a fabulous opportunity for you to really jumpstart your career, get you here in Bloomington into the home office, 50 other reps, opportunity to share, to learn, the new resources and tools, maybe think in a little different mindset on ways that you can grow and build your book of business to provide even more value to your client. The eligibility requirements are there on the slide. Next session is coming up in September on the 23rd and the 24th here in the home office. And if you meet the eligibility requirements, we would love to see you here to participate in the session and really jumpstart and take your career to a whole new level. Peak can really bring value to you as a business owner. And we do specifically talk about the CAR process, as well as a lot of other important items for you as a business owner to help you to build and grow your business. So please know that that is out there and available to you. Next up, I'm gonna go back through the Q&A. I think we got a couple of questions come in. We got one from Jason. And I think, Derek, this is for both you and Corey. What are some of your favorite selling or talking points when someone says they can get coverage cheaper somewhere else? Who would like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open about that too. I always tell people who are like, I think I can get it cheaper somewhere. I said, well, I think if you probably looked up 20 different quotes, we're never going to be the cheapest. We're never going to be the most expensive. I think we're always going to be competitive. But the only thing I can tell them is, what we know here is you're going to get taken care of with the claims department. You never know what you're getting yourself into when you have a different company and how they handle certain situations. But with working with them, our claims department for 15 years, I do think it's the best in the industry. And like we were discussing in our meeting yesterday, as much as I hate talking about rate increases, premium increases, I would rather, I think, talk about that over why a claim is getting denied. And I feel like there's other companies and other agents, independents and captives that have to do that way more often than we do. And I will take rate increases over that any day of the week. So I really do just kind of throw the backing of our claims department behind it. And depending on what kind of relationship you have, if it's a $10 or $20 a month difference, you hope that you provide enough service and input that wouldn't move the needle. But I do get it when there's something that's fairly substantial. You just kind of say, hey, I understand. You have, Corey says, you kind of sympathize with them and don't burn any bridges, and just hope that maybe in a year or two you can help them back out again.
Okay, all right, Derek, thank you. Corey, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I basically, we do have the best claims, out there, and that would be to your advantage, let people know that, I have contractors that tell me on a daily basis that they would want to work with any other company except for Country. And that's auto and home, auto body shop is the same way. So it's not just our home product, it's auto too. And then I also talk about service, right? I mean, and I make service a priority for all our clients. And I mean, whether that's good or bad, I'll answer emails at night, I'll answer phone calls on the weekend. Just to keep the clients. That doesn't mean that I haven't lost clients. I've lost plenty of clients with years, that I prefer not to. So some are going to go no matter what you tell them. So, and it does hurt and it does, make a difference, but I just try to let them know. And if they do leave, I always let them know, hey, if anything changes, I'd be glad to have you back. Give me a call, hey, you couldn't care if we call you in a year, and I put them on the calendar and I will call them again.
Okay, great, thank you. Have either of you found, as you're advancing your career and you get more comfortable helping your clients, that you're looking at specific lines of business more so than others as you try to grow? Are you starting to specialize, or are you staying just pretty generic and open to any and every opportunity? Corey, I'll start with you.
As far as the office goes, my book of business, any opportunity I get, I will do, even if it's a small brokerage policy, just to retain business and build the relationship further. But me personally, I want to deal less with auto home and deal more with commercial and retirement life. So I am trying to get that to where, I handle that more, and then just make sure clients know that contact them, so every email, every phone call, you know, every certificate that comes in, I always let them know, hey, I can take care of the certificate. Hey, Linda's gonna do this change. If you need anything, let all three of us know, so that way we can stay on top of it right away. Don't just call me, don't just email me, put all three.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. Derek, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as Corey. I tend to like to focus more on just the financial of life and commercial. I have kind of gotten away of just, monoline brokerage accounts. If they have business with us, then that's, one thing, but if they're just searching for, something that we don't offer, I've got a broker that is in the same small town as me that I'd say they're probably a better fit for. So I think, again, going back to time, and everybody's time is worth something. And health insurance, I know Corey and I used to be very, very big into health insurance, and that is something that I've at least trimmed down quite a bit on as well. But in the beginning, I think, yeah, you kind of took every opportunity that you could as just a way to meet a client or a prospect. But I've definitely become a little more picky on what I'm looking at. Unless it's something, like I said, now with an associate on board, if they're interested in doing some of the brokerage stuff, that's fine. But I've kind of tried to steer away from just that, at least for the time being.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. So what I'd like to do is kind of go back through with each of you and just give you an opportunity. If there's anything additional that we haven't discussed that you think would be of value to those that are in attendance. Everybody's got some last questions they want to throw in the box real quick. We got a couple of minutes for that as well. But Renee, I'll start with you. Any closing thoughts, comments, recommendations, encouragement, anything you could offer to our audience today?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is make sure you use that emergency contact form to your advantage. When I was a rep, we made sure that that was the last thing I closed the appointment up with. And then I would have my client text whoever their emergency contact is gonna be and say, hey, Renee Holly's office is gonna reach out to you. And so then later that afternoon or the next morning, my office staff would call and say, hey, this is Bonnie from Renee Holly's office. Your mom or your dad or whoever lists you as an emergency contact, please save our phone number in your phone. And then she would say to them, if there's anything that we can ever do to help you with your insurance, please reach out to us. So it was also kind of a warm transfer to them to try to get referrals. And it was amazing how many times we would get calls back from people that are like, you know what, we have been looking for insurance. So I would say use that form to your advantage and then make sure you save that emergency contact information in your notes on the Navigator folder, so then that way you have easy access to it.
All right, great, thank you. That's a really great idea. And it opens the door for new business, right? So it's a win-win for everybody in that situation. All right, Corey, how about you? Closing thoughts, comments, suggestions?
Yeah. The only other thing that I thought about too is if you're a rep, find another rep that you can call and talk to, find some bounce ideas off of, ask questions. Like I said earlier, Derek and I probably talk daily and ask each other questions. So it doesn't even matter if you've been in business 21 years, there's always something you don't know. And, utilize another person, right? And then especially assistants too. I know that there was a few questions and comments. So our assistants have a group chat that I think Renee might have set up actually where all the assistants in the county are together and they can, send questions back and forth. Hey, have you ever done this before? Have you ever processed this kind of thing? Have you ran into this? And that's helpful because, if I'm an appointment and I can't answer a question for them, they got somebody else to reach out to.
All right, great, thank you. Then Derek.
Yeah, another thing, as far as building relationships goes, it's great to have the C of I relationships like your mortgage lenders and your realtors. I think if you definitely go out, reach out to these people, try to develop business relationships with them. But I'll tell you another group that's kind of a hard one for me to really wrap my head around early on is other insurance agents, other independents, other captives. Like I've got some pretty close friends and acquaintances that we send stuff to each other, stuff that we can't do, stuff that they can't do, and especially in these markets, you'd be surprised how much if you just have a good relationship and with another rep with another company, how much business you may get, knowing that you're not going to go after anything else.
in the chat box. We got a couple of minutes left. If not, we can wrap up a little early, but I thought I'd give you one more opportunity. Anybody has a real quick question they'd like to ask, either Renee or Corey or Derek? Be just a couple of seconds to see if something pops in. Again, let's give them all three a big round of applause. One great information shared today. A lot of things to help you as a business owner truly put on that business owner hat, that business owner mentality. Understand this is not just you, but it's you and your team building success within your where you live, right? And helping your clients, putting them in a better place than the place you found them, starting with each and every appointment, bringing them value. So that's great. I think we've got one more question. Nope. Got one more thing from Tim, then we'll wrap it up. So there are going to be a couple other follow-up sessions yet this year, one in September and one in November. So if you have new staff that join your office, you want to invite them to the future sessions, you can find these out on the Sales Growth Toolbox. They are out there. If you hire somebody new, remember that additional training and resources are out there for you to utilize, helping them to get up to speed, get them comfortable and confident, and helping their clients and talking to their clients. So with that, I think we are wrapped up for today. Again, I appreciate all your time. Everybody that joined us in the session, thank you. Everybody have a great day. And hopefully everybody will go write something today. All right? Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Derek and Corey and Renee.